Sometimes going on vacation gives you a chance to reflect. And for me, it's given me clarity on one of the biggest questions in the sports card hobby. Will overprinting kill the value of card prices?
My name is Jeff Wilson. By day, I invest in tech companies. And at night, I invest in sports cards. Join me on my journey to profit from the hobby we all love.
Hello, sports card investors, and welcome to another episode. I am coming to you from the beautiful west coast of Florida. It's lovely here, albeit a little bit hot. But getting away for a few days has given me the opportunity to think about the sports card hobby, to think about where sports cards are going and where they've come, and to think about a concern that many of you voice whenever I put out a video. It's in the comments, it's in my Facebook group, it's in my Discord chats. There are always the naysayers who like to say overprinting is going to kill the hobby, and we are in a bubble because so many cards are being printed now that all of these modern cards are soon going to become worthless. And it's the junk wax era all over again. It's the late 80s, it's the early 90s. That is the common thing that you hear the naysayers to sports card investing say. I've thought about that, I've reflected on that, and I'm here today to tell you I don't believe any of that. I think those folks are completely wrong. And I'm going to tell you why. We have a tool at our disposal now as modern sports card investors that we did not have back in the junk wax era, and that is graded cards and specifically population reports. Because while the manufacturers, while Panini and Topps are a little clandestine about how many cards they're actually producing, Upper Deck as well, we do have clues. We do have clues that we can turn to today that are clues that did not exist, that we were not able to access a number of years ago. One of those clues is population reports, because every time a card gets submitted for grading, which is becoming increasingly common these days, PSA and BGS and SGC, they keep a record of it, and they publish those numbers in population reports. So you know exactly how many cards of a particular type have been graded. Now, what you don't know is how many ungraded cards are out there or how many cards are still sitting in sealed boxes that haven't been opened yet, but it still gives you a sense, a pretty good sense, of how many cards are being printed today. And we have started to add this population data within my Market Movers data platform. So when you go into Market Movers and you do a search, you can see this population data. So let's have a look. Let's have a look at Anthony Davis's 2012 Prism base card in PSA 10. And you see the graph here on the screen of the price movements of this card. By the way, very nice price movements. A card that you could have had for well under $1,000, about $800 a few months ago. Peaked out recently at close to $4,000. It's now down a little bit under $3,500. Probably because the Lakers have looked a little shaky in the bubble. And I think people are starting to lose their confidence a little bit that they may put a ring on their finger this year. I don't know. But regardless, this is an iconic rookie card. First year of Prism. One of the top guys from that draft class. PSA 10, Prism base. A guy who is on, the biggest team in basketball. A guy who may win multiple championships there in the years to come. Iconic rookie card. And guess how many of these exist? Well, look right here. The population is 1,123. 1,123. Right there. 1,123. That is like 1/10 of the number of people that go to watch him play in a single game in the Staples Center during the regular season. Well, at least pre-COVID, right? 1,000, not even 1/10. It's probably like 1/20th of the people who go to the Staples Center to watch him play. Literally, 1,123, that is such a tiny number, such an incredibly tiny number. I have almost 40,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel. There are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of more people, millions of more people that are into sports cards that have never subscribed to my YouTube channel. And you're saying that 1,123, like that's such a tiny number. Okay, granted, that's 2012, right? And we're not talking about 2012. We need to talk about today, and we need to talk about printing that's happening now, right? Okay. Well, let's fast forward to 2017, a little more recent, and let's look at Prism basketball from 2017. The most iconic player in that rookie class thus far is Jayson Tatum of the Boston Celtics. Let's look at his Prism base card in PSA 10. Here it is. Population 3,349. Okay, so printing definitely increased from 2012 to 2017, but there's only 3,349 of his base card. Not talking about his silver, which is way more rare. Not talking about other variations. I'm talking about his base card, his base Prism card, the most common Prism card of him, graded at PSA 10. There's a little over 3,000. There are more than 3,000 Jayson Tatum fans in one block of one neighborhood in Boston. That is a tiny number. And if you want to own the iconic card of perhaps what may be one of the best 5 players in basketball over the next 10 to 15 years, you're going to end up owning only one of 3,000 of that card that currently exists, if you get the PSA 10, right? And look at the price run that this card's had. I mean, what is happening why are all of these cards going crazy in price? Why is this happening? People are going to say in the comments, oh, it's a bubble, it's market manipulation. No. I'm not saying that none of that is occurring, and in fact, I've covered market manipulation on this show before, and you should educate yourself about it. However, that is not the reason why we have seen across the board the incredible escalations in card prices that we have seen. It's not the reason. The reason is simple. It's basic economics. It's supply and demand. And when you have the iconic rookie card of the best player from the 2017 draft class, who may be one of the big stars in the NBA for the next 10 to 15 years, and there's only a little over 3,000 of that card in existence in a PSA 10 grade, the supply is so small compared to the demand, which is growing each and every day as more people are joining the hobby, as more people are subscribing to this YouTube channel. Demand is exceeding supply, and what happens when demand exceeds supply? Prices rise. Okay, so some of you out there going, well, Jeff, that's 2017. We're talking about what's going on today. Well, let's go to the next year. Let's go to 2018, because 2018 is the year when many people feel overproduction started to occur, and they'll point to Luka's cards in 2018 as evidence of it, right? And fair points, because Luka's cards were printed a lot more in 2018 than Tatum's cards were printed in 2017. In fact, if you look at the population of Luka's 2018 Prism, got it here on the screen, his base is a population of 12,636. And the naysayers out there are going to go, see, I told you so, overprinting. There's 4 times as many of those as there were Jayson Tatum's cards in PSA 10. That's true. They printed a lot more basketball cards in 2018 than 2017. You know what else is true? When Luka goes to China, he can't walk from one end of the street to the other end of the street without 12,000 kids swarming him wanting his autograph. And certainly would love to be having his card. There's only 12,000 of them in existence. That number is not scary at all. In fact, this price increase, which you can again see on the graph, the price increase that this card has gone on for the last 90 days, where this card has gone from, $500 down here all the way up to, in recent days, over $2,000 now. And some of you are going to go, that's insanity, $2,000 for a base Prism card in PSA 10. And my response to that is, yeah, how many millions of people out there would love to own Luka Doncic's iconic base Prism card in PSA 10? How many millions of people would love to own the 12,000s that exist? It's not a big number. And some of you will say, well, they're printing a lot more different sets now. There's a lot more variations now. That's true. That's true. And I don't love that. I don't love the wide number of, say, 20 plus basketball sets being released every year. That's true. But there's also not as much collector interest around some of those off-brand sets. It's why I suggest to new sports card investors, stick with the iconic sets. Stick with Prism. Stick with Select. Stick with Optic when it comes to basketball. Maybe throw little contenders in there. Or if you want to go higher end, you can go to a National Treasures or an Immaculate. But stick with what's known. If you want to go lower end, go with Donruss, go with Hoops. But that's kind of it. Like, that's my window. Like, I'm not a big fan of buying, some of the lesser known sets. Chronicles just came out. It's a cool set to open. I don't find Chronicles to be nearly as good of a set from an investment standpoint, because it's a bizarre mismatch of different kind of products that couldn't make it on their own. Luminance couldn't make it on its own. Obsidian couldn't make it on its own. So Panini tosses them all into Chronicles and gives you kind of a grab bag. Get his iconic cards. Get his Prism. Get his Select. Get his Optic if you want to invest, and you're going to be okay, in my opinion, because those are the iconic cards, and those are the ones that people are going to continue to chase. By the way, the price escalation that we've seen with Luka, it's not just these base cards. Check this out. And in fact, I can give you no greater advertisement for the Market Movers data tool than just to show you this graph. Because look, the top line on this graph right up here, that's his silver, which you can see. Look, starting right about here, look at how his silver took off. But then look at when his base Prism down here took off. You see that? You see how the silver started to really, really take off a few weeks before his base Prism started to take off? That's called the Prism being the leading indicator, and then his other cards starting to catch up. We see this all the time in the sports card market, and by simply looking at the charts and Market Movers, you can predict what is about to take off. Because you can see if the silver's doing this, or if the PSA 10's doing this, then it won't be long till the base does this, or the PSA 9 does this. And that's also, by the way, the ratios feature that we build in here. That's what it's all about. You can come down here and you can click ratios, and you can actually see, like right now, the silver is 4.04x more valuable than the base. But there was a period of time, if you rewind back into this period, where the silver, look at it in here, the silver had gotten to be 6x more valuable than the base. When you see a silver PSA 10 that is 6x more valuable than the base is undervalued. Now it's 4x. It's corrected. The market's corrected itself. But as a savvy sports card investor, I hope you were watching these charts and these ratios, and I hope you got in there when there was a 6x difference, because there was money to be made on the base card. I digress. By the way, if you want to check this out for yourself, we got a few days left in our sale, 20% off your first payment of Market Movers. Use promo code VIRTUAL. I'll remind you again at the end of the show. But let's talk about this year, because people are going to be like, okay, that's, fine. Maybe they weren't overprinted in previous years, but what about 2019, Jeff? What about Zion? What about Zion? All right, what about Zion? So Zion's pop report right now for his 2019 Prism Basketball PSA 10, 9,657 have graded. So less than Luka. Now, there hasn't been enough time to grade all of the Zions, and this number will continue to go up and up without a doubt. I'm sure PSA still has a big backlog of cards, and I'm sure there are, thousands and thousands of Zion cards, maybe tens of thousands of Zion cards in that backlog that will get graded. Where will this number end? I think it's safe to say that this number of PSA 10 Zion cards will hit 20,000. Maybe it will go beyond that. There's a lot of unopened wax from 2019 Prism still, although it's incredibly expensive at this point. Maybe it'll hit 30,000. But so what if it does? Are you telling me there aren't 30,000 people in America that would be willing to pay $1,000 to own the iconic rookie card of what might become the iconic player of this generation? I don't know if he will or not. We'll see, right? His performance in the bubble wasn't particularly inspiring. And by the way, look at his price graph again. Look at how the bubble killed his prices, right? I mean, look at that. Like he was entering a couple weeks ago, right when bubble play got started. I mean, this card had escalated all the way up to over $900, and now it's back down to $661 again. By the way, that by itself should give you confidence in the market. The fact that it's not just everything going up. The fact that it's not just, a bunch of price manipulation pushing cards up. No, the market is actually responding to a player's performance and a player's outlook. The fact that Zion's cards have lost 33% of their value over the course of the last 2 weeks should give you confidence that the sports card market is a true market and that it will go up and down based upon performance and how people do. And overall, it's rising up because of the fact that there is more demand than supply. And that, I believe, will continue to be the case. There will continue to be more and more and more demand, yet a fixed amount of supply until they print next year's cards. And but even within a world where demand is exceeding supply, you can still see price fluctuation downward if a player is not performing. And Zion's the greatest example of that right now. That gives me confidence in the market. So, I will conclude with this. Could overprinting be a danger to the sports card hobby in the years ahead? Sure. I'm not controlling the printing presses at Panini or Topps. It could become a danger. Do I feel it's a danger today? No, I don't. Do I feel like it's going to be a danger for the next few years? Not unless Panini or Topps go really, really crazy and start printing a ton. But if you're concerned about that, then don't buy next year's guys. Go buy Jayson Tatum. Go buy Anthony Davis. Because there's no way those cards were overprinted, and they're not going to turn on the printing press from 2012 or 2017 again. So I am confident, very confident, in the viability of the sports card hobby. I do not think we're in a bubble. But I would also like you to hear it directly from the mouths of people at Panini and Topps. And at the virtual sports card con that we did a few weeks ago, I asked a representative from Panini and Topps this very question. And if you missed those interviews, we're going to replay them on this channel. I believe they're going to replay this weekend, or possibly next week. So you'll have an opportunity within the next week or so here to rewatch those interviews and see what Panini and Topps have to say about that if you haven't already. All right. Thanks for joining me. Appreciate you taking the time to reflect with me. Would love to hear what you think. You agree? You disagree? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to check out the Market Movers data platform, use promo code VIRTUAL. Virtual gives you 20% off your first payment, monthly or annual. Go to sportscardinvestor.com and click on Market Movers in the main menu bar. Hope you have a great day, everybody. Enjoy. I'll be back in the studio soon for my next episode. Take care.